The Vengeance Paladin is a great subclass in Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D in general. So, this is my level 1 to 12 Oath of Vengeance Paladin with a combat tutorial and a bunch of items for you to use. So let's get into it. Level 1, we take our Paladin. We have, of course, Divine Sense, so you get an advantage on attack rolls against Celestials, Fiends and Undead, and a Lay on Hand charge. 4 healing, and it's basically just a nice extra way of buffing enemy or buffing companions up if they need that little bit extra healing and you don't want to use a potion. You also get 1 Channel Oath charge, which is replenished on a short or long rest. Now, as I said, we are taking Oath of Vengeance. This gives us Inquisitor's Might. You and an ally's weapon attacks deal an additional 2 radiant damage and can daze enemies for 1 turn, and at the beginning of the game, this is really useful. Now, if you are starting the game out, this is what you want your stat array to be. If you are following this guide to a T, we are going to respec now, and if you use the items I use, then the respec will make sense. But if you're taking this build from the very first level in the game, this is what you want your stats to be. 16 Strength, 12 Dex, 14 Constitution, 8 Wisdom, 8 Intelligence, and 16 Charisma. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me why I don't give race suggestions or any of that fun stuff like backgrounds, that type of thing. It's because I don't believe in min-maxing. I think min-maxing kills games. I think you should play a game, especially a long game like Baldur's Gate 3, as a character and with a thing you're going to enjoy playing as for 100 hours. If you don't like being elves or orcs, why would you choose to play one just for an extra, I don't know, plus 2 or 3 points of damage per round? It's not worth it. So, just want to cover that quickly. So let's do our respec, and I will show you what that will look like. 8 Strength, 16 Dexterity for that initiative, Constitution at 14, 10 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, 16 Charisma. For your proficiencies, take whatever you like. And we move on to Paladin level 2, where we unlock our Divine Smites. The main reason you play a Paladin, honestly, is the Divine Smites. So for a fighting style, we are going to take Great Weapon Fighting. You could, if you want to, take Defense, if you want to do a Sword and Board build. I'm going to do two-handed, but there are lots of really good Sword and Shield options, or Sword and Flail, Sword and whatever. But we're going to assume that you're doing two-handed, as that's what I'm just doing here. So we're going to take Great Weapon Fighting. When you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack with a two-handed melee weapon, that dice is re-rolled once. For your spells, we're going to take Searing Smite. So this is a fire-based smite that, if you maintain concentration, will cause 1d6 fire damage every turn. Thunderous Smite, which is essentially a Thunderwave Smite. Wrathful Smite, which can inflict Frighten. Command, which is really good because it means you can ask enemies to drop their weapons, all sorts of stuff, and you can pick up dropped weapons from enemies. So if you command to drop their weapons, pick them up, they can only use their bare fists. And then Shield of Faith, because that extra 2 armor class can be really handy, especially in the start of the beginning of the game. Paladin level 3, now we have a bunch of new abilities. So, Channel Oath charge, we can use Abjure Enemy. Frighten enemy, they have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move. Fiends and Undead have disadvantage on this saving throw. So this is a really good way of frightening a lot of fiends, and this comes in really handy in Act 2. We also have Vow of Enmity. Gain advantage on attack rolls against an enemy. Now this is a bonus action and a Channel Oath charge, so it will not eat into your spell slots, and a great way to ensure you have advantage on attacks, especially against like a boss or a harder enemy. We also get to pick some more spells, so for this one we're going to take Cure Wounds. Now, we're not really going to be a healer, but if you want to just give yourself a little buff up in the health department, you have the option to. Ideally, most of your spell slots are going to be used for smites. Okay, Paladin level 4, we have an access to another Lay on Hands charge, but most importantly, we get a feat. Now for this, I would take Great Weapon Master if you are two-handing. If you're not, and you're going from the start of the game, bump your strength up to, it would be 18 now. If you are respecing at the end of the game using this equipment but want to go Sword and Board, my choice would be either an ASI into Charisma or Alert. But, as I said, we're sticking with this build I'm doing here, so Great Weapon Master. They're -5 to attack rolls, but a 10 extra damage on hits. And for a spell, Compelled Duel. This is a really good way of just narrowing down a target so they can only hit you. And while in Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D there's no innate tank feature, like in a lot of games where you can taunt and that sort of stuff, Compelled Duel is one of the closest ways of being a tank. Okay, Paladin level 5, and this is where we get the Power Spike. Coupled with Great Weapon Master, where if you kill an enemy or crit, you can do a bonus action attack. We now have an extra attack. So if you can use your 2 main attacks to kill an enemy or crit, you can then use your bonus action with your Great Weapon Master feat to then do a bonus action attack, which can be 3 attacks per round. And of course we are taking a Branding Smite, so this stops enemies from turning invisible if hit with it, and this is amazing during Act 2. Paladin level 6 we have Aura of Protection, and this gives us a +3, I know it says +0, it's a little bugged, +3 to our saving throws. And for a spell we're going to take Magic Weapon. Infuse weapon with Arcane Energy, weapon becomes magical, receiving a 1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Again, you probably won't use this though. Most of your spells, I say most, 99% of your spells, you really do want to save for smites. Okay, Paladin level 7 we have Reckless Avenger. If you hit an enemy with an opportunity attack, your movement speed increases by 4.5 meters. Now this isn't the greatest of abilities, but it can come in very handy. And again, at this point you can kind of take any spell you want, we're not really focused on these, so we're just going to take Protection from Poison. Okay, Paladin level 8, and for your feat or ASI you have 2 options. Again, at the start of the game, if you're following this level by level, take your ASI and bump your strength up to 20. If you are going to be 2 weapon or sword and board, your options are Savage Attacker or an ASI into Charisma just to help out your spellcasting. And then you're going to do the inverse at level 12. So for now we'll take Savage Attacker, and again take any spell you want, bringing us to Paladin level 9. And first up we're going to take Blinding Smite. This is a plus 3d8 radiant damage smite that can blind the target. Paladin level 10 we have our Lion's Hands charge again, and Aura of Courage, so we cannot be frightened and neither can our nearby allies. And for a spell we are going to take Warden of Vitality. Now this is a great spell, but it does mean you have the option of using a bonus action to heal up yourself or allies, which is really good. But coupled with Great Weapon Master, there are opportunities where you won't be able to use your bonus action to heal, you'd rather hit, and vice versa. So it's a nice spell to have, but it does rely on you probably being in a situation where your attacks aren't going to kill an enemy unless you crit. So it may leave you in a situation where you have to pick and choose, but I do think it's worth taking. Paladin level 11, Improved Divine Smite. Our melee attacks now do an additional 1 to 8 radiant damage, which is really helpful. And for a spell, at this point take anything, we're just going to take Daylight. And that brings us very nicely to our final level, Paladin level 12, new feat available, and as I said before, you're either going to take Savage Attacker or ASI to Charisma to 18. If you are at the start of the game and you don't quite have the gear we're using, despite being level 12, use your use your Great Weapon Master feat or Savage Attacker, either one. We are going to take Charisma to 18. And again, the spell, anything. Okay, when it comes to equipment, these would be my choices. Now, if you want a more in-depth look at this, go and check out my Paladin, the Oath of Vengeance build. I go a bit more in-depth on that. The gear is very samey though, but I've given you an option for sword and board, and I will give you the two-handed, which I'll be using option. So we start with the Helldusk Helmet, stops us from being blinded in magical and ordinary darkness, +2 bonus to saving throws, and cannot be critically hit. The Flesh Melter Cloak means anyone that hits us with a melee attack takes 1 to 4 acid damage. Disintegrating Nightwalkers ensures we can't be enwebbed, entangled, ensnared, can't slip on ice or grease, and Misty Step, most importantly. The Helldusk Armor, the best armor in the game, this works on anyone because you're immediately proficient with it when you wear it. When we succeed saving throws, whoever casts that spell on us gets burning for 3 turns, with resistance to fire damage, cannot be burned, and take 3 less damage from all sources, making us a great melee tank. And this pairs so nicely with the Ring of Regeneration, which heals us for 1 to 4 hit points. So not only do we negate damage, we also heal up at the start of our turn. The Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength, this was the point of the respec. This means we get our strength set to 23. The Killer Sweetheart ensures that when we kill a creature, our next attack will be a critical hit, but it is once per long rest. And the Amulet of Greater Health. So not only does this help our health pool, but it helps our concentration. And since some of our smites do require concentration, really good option here. Now for sword and board, the Blackguard sword pairs so nicely with Paladins. Dazing Smite. On a hit infused with one of your smites, the target must succeed a Constitution saving throw or become dazed. Really, really great sword. and you pair this with Viconia's Walking Fortress. I personally think this is the best shield in the game. +3 to armor class. You can use your reaction to knock an enemy prone, dealing 2 to 8 force damage. Gain advantage on saving spell throws, which works so nicely with the Helldusk armor. And Reflective Shield as a class action. Now, if you don't want to do that, and I prefer this option, the Sword of Chaos. Now, on a hit, this regens you 1 to 6 hit points, and it does a massive amount of damage. Okay, that is our build. We've done sword and board and two-handed, so let's go find some combat. And we're in the battle, and as you can see, we've immediately hit for 19 damage as a reaction. This will obviously give us now more movement, thanks to our abilities, and we healed up because it counts as a sword hit. And as you can see, our ring triggers, healing us for 3. Now, this build is mainly focused on DPS and damage, so pair this nicely with a healer like Shadowheart, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And you can really save your lay on hand charges for when you need them. And this means we can purely focus on having our smites be our biggest damage dealers. So we'll start with a 3rd level Divine Smite. In fact, no we won't, because I have a plan for this. We are going to take the opportunity attack.
May the gods take you first.
Which is okay. And we're going to smack this person. There we go. And this has unlocked our Executioner thanks to our Killer's Sweetheart, which means we now are guaranteed a critical hit. And we're going to do a level 3 Divine Smite to show off just how much damage you can do. Executioner. And there you go, we just did an incredible amount of damage. We did 35, so 40, 52, 108 points of damage in one hit. Insane. And thanks to that, we now also have the ability, if we wanted to Great Weapon Master bonus attack. Now fortunately we can't quite reach, so a little annoying, but that just shows you just how good our capabilities are. Instead, what we can do is bonus action and Misty Step. And now we've immediately in the pocket to focus on these guys and leave our ranged capabilities to these guys. Again, another big hit thanks to our opportunity attack, which also helps us heal up. So I'm just going to show off some normal attacks. So, we come in here. Oh, big miss unfortunately. But there you go, as you can see, our basic attack did 39 damage, which is incredible. And if we would have killed them by hitting with the first attack, we then could have accessed our Great Weapon Master and attacked again. But what we could do, for example, is use our bonus action to concentrate on the Hunter's Mark. And now we'll do an extra die of damage per hit. And now it's time for us to finish this gentleman off. So, there you go, a huge amount of damage, which means we can then come down here and we get to attack with advantage because they are reckless, which means you have a higher chance of doing another critical hit.
Cutting to the chase.
And there you go, even against a barbarian, we did enough to kill them off. Now, this gentleman here, or lady I believe, no it's a gentleman, they have full health. So again, let's show off some of our abilities. We also have haste. So you know what, let's haste. Now we do lose Hunter's Mark, but that's okay. And now that we're hasted, we can start smacking as hard as we can. This gives us extra actions per round. So that was our second round of actions, because haste counts as the first one. And let's say you're in a fight against a really tough boss. Your smites count as actions, which means you can smite multiple turns while hasted. Let me show you. So Divine Smite, we'll do it at first level. Now unfortunately we did get a big miss, but that's okay, we can come back in here. Another Divine Smite. And there you go. And again, we can keep coming in, keep Divine Smiting while hasted. And no need to be heal on every attack, but we get that insane amount of damage. So that was my Oath of Vengeance Paladin build. Let me know in the comments what you'd change, what other items you'd use, whether you'd do sword and board or two-handed. If you haven't already, please drop the episode a like, helps me amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed but you'd like to, that'd also be amazing, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.